What's happening, fam? LAR movement still moving. Salute to the Negro manosphere. This video is entitled Production Equals Wealth. We talk about making money and getting money. You make money numerous ways in America. But wealth usually comes from production. What do you produce? Supply and demand in the simplest form. Who makes the money? The supplier. Who do they make the money off of? The people that demand it. So as you might have to create a demand for something, and that takes work. But to get wealth, you have to supply something. Every wealthy person in America supplies something. And you gotta, and they can have rich people who work for them to help them supply something, but the owners of America are essentially suppliers. Okay? So for us to be wealthy as a group, we have to get in the mentality of being producers. Like right now I'm producing content, right? And this content is like an intellectual property that you can sell because people demand content. So I'm not the best at it. I'm not the richest guy in the world at it. But in essence, I'm still a producer, right? So that's one thing. Like if you go to a grocery store, and I'll make this reference before. When you go to the fruits and vegetables, they call it the produce section. That section with fresh produce is what keeps you healthy. What gives you the energy to be alive. All the other stuff in the grocery store could probably kill you. You know what I'm saying? It's somewhere to poison you slowly. But the produce section helps you to function properly and to live long so you can produce. That's why health is wealth. But to be able to become a wealthy person and let your wealth grow, you have to produce something that works for you. Like take for instance Rolex watches, right? They're a symbol of wealth, but the people who produce Rolex watches don't have to work now to sell them. The demand is there. Like they're a sign of opulence, right? So all they have to do is make the watches now, and you'll come looking for them. If you hit a certain level in life, you want people to know that you're on that level, so you're going to get a Rolex. So the people who make Rolexes are wealthy, right? Because they produce the watches. The people who mine the gold are wealthy because they're producing the gold once they mine it and refine it to sell. They produced it, so those two markets are together. You get what I'm saying? So those are two wealthy families, right? When people are haters, right? When you're a hater, you buy a gun. But people produce the guns because they know people are haters. And they'll go steal something and rob somebody who has some stuff that is considered opulent. Because if you can't afford it, you'll take it. So that makes the gun people wealthy. And the same people the gun people get money from the people who mine and refine iron and metal. Maybe those same people refine the gold. You don't know. But they were all produced. And all these productions for different reasons bring wealth because people always need things. We all need food, shelter, clothing, and now transportation, and probably things to defend ourselves with. So when you think about those things, they're they're at the core of wealth. You know, the GDP is highly involved in military spending and defense spending. So when people produce missiles or guidance systems or bullets, things like that, they're producing something that makes them wealthy because that's this country's MO. You dig? So that production gets wealth. You know, though we talk crazy about people buying Jordans and whatnot. Michael Jordan, uses Nike to produce his shoes. People and he supplies people what they're looking for. It's not necessarily Michael Jordan's fault that people demand all these shoes. He supplies them and he meets people's needs and expectations to keep the supply going. So that's what's making him wealthy. He's made more money supplying sneakers than he ever did playing basketball. You know what I'm saying? Because he's a producer. And we gotta get into that mindset of the production aspect. And that's a whole different mindset of a working aspect, because you're working, that pays every 2 weeks, right? So you're working for somebody who wants you to do a job to keep their supply chain going. But the money is steady, but there's hardly any profit in that, right? The profit comes with production. Now, it may cost you to create a supply chain. It may cost you to produce something. But at the back end, the profits are usually a whole lot more than your salary. And that's because your wealth is different that way. You can make money in your sleep when you're a producer. You can't make money when you sleep when you're a worker. And we got to think about that. And a lot of times what it is we're not taught to create anymore. Necessity is the mother of invention. And sometimes you need that struggle to create necessity. And I know as a black man, the United States of America has stole all of our inventions for the most part. And they're part of everybody else's business. And they've created billion and trillion dollar companies off of our inventions. That is absolutely a reality. And this is part of the wealth. And screw slavery. Part of the wealth of this country is off of stealing inventions. But that production in itself, creates things. To create an industry or to create an economic platform, we have to produce something. We can't just you have nothing to sell if you don't produce anything. And that's how you get people to get on board with what you're doing, is you give them something to buy. What is the brother that the sisters was mad at, who had the hair care company, who has the hair care company? He produces, hair care products, and people need them and want them. So he supplies people what they demanding, right? That's what makes him rich. A lot of people who are rich in this country, they don't live in a niche market per se. They live in the economic market and will take everybody's money, but they may have a niche that separates them from somebody else. What I mean by that is, a Big Mac and a Whopper are still burgers. One just is a Big Mac and the other one is a Whopper. They're essentially just burgers. One looks a little different than the other. One has some different spices on it than the other. That's their niche, but they're still in the business of selling burgers. And they don't say, you can't eat my burger and you can't eat my burger. This burger is just for this person. No, because Their plan, the production is based on, I want to sell this to everybody so I can become more wealthy. This is what I'm producing. This is what I'm selling. This is what people are demanding. This is what I'm providing. This is what I'm collecting off of. You know what I'm saying? So I think we need to take into consideration that we need to produce more to gain wealth in this country. We can't just get the bag all the time, right? Even when you get the bag, use whatever you do to get money and think about using that money to produce your greatest idea. You know what I'm saying? And then create a supply from that. That will create a demand for what you supply from that. So we out, man. Y'all take care. Peace.